In today's video, I'm going to show a basic or a for beginners guide, if you will, of how to use Enchantress. This will not be as much of kind of like a combo or like a tech guide, although I'm going to show some combos and some tech you can use for Enchantress. My goal is not exactly that. My objective is to show you the fundamentals of Enchantress, how to play her, how to understand her, how to optimize her, and overall what your goal should be once the match starts. So I would say that Enchantress is more focused on applying really long pressure, zoning the opponent, and mixing them up. Most importantly, I believe she's a stance/puppet character, and I will explain why. So for obvious reasons, I think she's a puppet character because she has this puppet called Matt, which is essential towards her game plan. You don't need him as much for her zoning, but you do need him a lot for her DP, which is kind of like your reversal move, your pressure, your combos, your damage, and you kind of have to control him, especially in Showtime stance or in puppet stance. And finally, I will also say that she's kind of like a stance character as well, because she has this other mode called Showtime by the game. You can also call it like a puppet stance or whichever way you prefer, where she changes all of her basic magic skills for another set of skills, which are the ones that Matt uses. And not only that, but in that mode, you have to control Matt's movement, whereas in the normal mode, Matt will go wherever Enchantress goes. So here are some pros and cons when it comes to using Enchantress. So I would say that her first pro, and the one that it shines the most, is that she can apply a lot, and I mean a lot of pressure. You can have your opponent just blocking, and you can be plus for just days and days, just forcing your opponent to DP or to guard cancel, which are things that you can both bait. Second benefit, I would say, is that she can really mix the opponent up. So, as far as I know, DNF Duel basically just have a bunch of strike throw mix. There's not really like a left-right because there's a guard button, and I guess there are some characters that can high-low mix you, like Striker and Swiftmaster, but she can really shine when it comes to mixing the opponent up, especially thanks to her carry cancels, which I will explain later. But just know that she can really be a really good can opener. On top of that, she can also zone the opponent very effectively. Don't try to abuse that too much, because once they roll in and jump, you will have basically no way out, especially because of how squishy you are. There's a DP, there's a lot of ways to anti-air the opponent, but just know that she can be very annoying with her zoning. And lastly, funny enough, she has a very low hurt box. Because she's very small, I've seen things whiff on her by just crouching, like I've seen DPs whiff, I've seen projectiles whiff, I've seen people being a little bit too high and they think they can attack from the air, but because she's so small, they whiff, and because they whiff, they cannot do anything else besides do conversion, which then you can punish. I mean, not the conversion, but if they don't have conversion, you can punish once they land. It can be pretty annoying for characters like Ranger, for example. Starting with the cons, I would say that first, she doesn't have a lot of damage. She definitely can do a lot of damage in the corner. I would say I will explain how to get it, especially with her command grab. But just know that she's not really a heavy hitter, kind of like, let's say, Crusader or Striker, Berserker, etc. Or Lost Warrior. I've seen Lost Warrior do a lot of damage. But just know that you won't deal a lot of damage, especially in mid-screen. Even with Awakening, you can do a very decent damage with Awakening, at least in mid-screen. But just know that she shines more in the corner. Another thing is that you can't afford to do a lot of mistakes with her, especially with her low health. I think she has the lowest health in the game, so if you do a mistake, your opponents can pretty easily capitalize on them and deal massive amounts of damage by you just making a mistake, whiffing, etc. So just be very careful about that aspect. Another thing is that her normals, they have decent range, but they aren't that long. I've seen characters like Vanguard or Ghostblade just do like just hit one normal and they reach you out of nowhere and they catch the opponent off guard pretty easily. That won't be happening that much with Enchantress. They're not as like close range as like I guess Grappler or let's say Striker, but she doesn't have the longest reach ever. So just please keep that in mind, especially in round start. So lastly, I would say that the thing that discourages people the most when it comes to playing her is that she can have a lot of high execution. Don't be discouraged by this. I will later show some tips that can help you with this, especially with the Karen cancels and stuff and controlling Matt. But just know that she can be really hard to play, not just to like understand as a character, but also in terms of execution. So quick note before I start with the guide. If you want to learn Enchantress, just please don't start by doing her trials. You will get confused and discouraged by playing her a lot. I've seen people just get discouraged by like the fourth trial, and most of the times it's because they don't really like understand the character. I know you will say, well, it's mostly like a combo thing, but yeah, I get that, but a lot of it also comes with understanding the character and how to use her and how to like find shortcuts, or not shortcuts, but like ways to use her effectively, which then you can apply into using combos with her so that you don't get discouraged when playing her. But please do not start by doing the trials. So when it comes to her movement, one thing is her roll. So different from the rest of the cast, she can actually teleport while she rolls. This means that you cannot get grabbed during the animation of the roll. She also has, I believe, longer startup and longer recovery with her roll, so you cannot use this as much as other characters to like catch them off guard and go for a grab. But this means that you cannot get grabbed during the animation. So another very cool thing that Enchantress can do when it comes to her movement is her carry cancel. So first things first, to teleport Matt to wherever you are, to wherever Enchantress is, you have to do MS in the air, alright? That's not really the point of what I'm trying to make here, but when it comes to movement, she can do technically like this little float in the air by just doing her carry cancel. And this can lead to a lot of possibilities. The main one is that you can actually teleport Matt wherever you are really quickly. So if you don't do this, for example, you will just teleport Matt, but you still teleport Matt, but you will have to do a full jump. It is much faster that you just do this, right? How it works is that you have to blink your S button and your MS button really quickly, and you'll get it. It will be a little bit hard first, but don't be discouraged by that. But just know that she has this very cool property to teleport Matt and do this like floating thing. And you were wondering, well, sure, I can teleport Matt very quickly, but what are the other stuff that you can do with this carry cancel? Well, I'm glad you asked. So to start, we can do a delayed overhead. You can also, let's say, do a delayed empty throw. Let's say that you also can do a delayed empty low. With this, you can also do a double overhead. And you can even do a triple overhead. So there's two tips that I can give you when it comes to carry cancelling, alright? So first, don't do it really low to the ground, or sorry, close to the ground, if you want to do an overhead normal. And that's because the landing will sometimes, as you see there, like you saw there in the display that I press A in the air, but nothing really came out, and that's because the landing interrupted my button. So just do it a little bit high, right? A little bit high. And lastly, for some reason, when it comes to canceling this into like the into the carry cancel, my bad, is that the pling is a little bit slower. My bad. Let me see if I get it. There we go. So the blink is not as fast. If you do it too fast, you will get this. Yeah. You will just like... You will just teleport Matt and that's it, but you won't get like the little double jump that she has. So just keep that in mind. The blink is a little bit slower. There we go. So it's when you're doing in neutral, you have to do it like real fast, like that. And when you're doing as a double overhead, there we go, it's like a black black. If you see what I'm getting, hopefully the display is helping you to understand a bit, but just know that you cannot, if you want to cancel air normal like a JA or like a JB with the carry cancel, you won't, you have to do it a little bit slower. Quick note, just know that you don't need to do all of this like high execution stuff because it can be a little bit hard to do this like consistently, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can do without doing the carry cancels that can really put Enchantress on like a really good spot during the match, which I will show you later. But just know that if you really want to optimize her, especially to mix up the opponent up, just know that carry canceling with her can be very, very important. But I wouldn't say that you need to learn how to do them consistently every time, alright? I've seen even the highest levels of the highest level of Enchantress players with this and miss this. It can be a little bit hard at the beginning, but don't worry, with practice you will get it in time. I believe in you. So let's talk about her normals. So her normals, when I started the video, I said that they have pretty decent-ish range. The reason I say that is that I've seen a bunch of characters like, let's say, Ghostblade or Vanguard that can like really catch the opponent off guard with really long normals. That doesn't really happen with Enchantress. With Enchantress, let's say even in round start, the only two things that will hit, at least when it comes to normals, is her 5B and the second hit of 2B. So I wouldn't recommend to just really be aggressive in round start, right? It's better if you, I said it's better if you just like walk backwards or crouch block or maybe like jump back. You can probably hope to go for a jump in if you think that they're going to start the round with like a low or stuff, but just keep that in mind. So obviously you got your 5A that you can cancel into like a target combo for 2 hits. You have this that that's your fastest one. I think it's 6 or 7 frames, one of the two. This is your fastest one, so if you're like here and you want to go first and you think you can press your opponents, but if you start with this and go for a combo. Alright? But I would say that your main like get in button is your 5B, alright? It's better if you use like forward to just like close the gap with your opponent and to also get used to controlling mats whilst you're in the combo, right? I will get that later, tips into like how to control mat better, but just know that this button is like really good to just get in. And another button that I really want to talk about is her 2B. It's 2 hits, so it can be really good to like confirm, to tell if your opponent is blocking, if the opponent is not blocking, and you can choose with which skill you want to cancel into accordingly, right? And also, because it's 2 hits, it gives you a lot of time to move Matt during a combo, which I would also explain later in the video. But this can be also really good. I wouldn't say that this is really good to use in neutral. Obviously, the second hit has higher range, but it gives a higher window, with punish window to the opponent, right? It's better, I would say, to just use 5B. Alright, you got your standard like air normals, you have your 5A, but most of the time you'll be using this, at least air to ground, and if you want to use air to go first, just go with this, alright? So another thing to keep in mind is that her normals can be pretty negative even on hit. That's because she is not meant to like go for a stagger and then just delay and go for a grab or whatever, or frame traps. That won't really happen unless you cancel. You have to cancel your normals into your specials every time. almost every time you wanna cancel them and go for combos, go for setups, whatever. But just know that you must be canceling your normals into skills most of the time. So let's talk about her special. So it doesn't really matter in which stance you're in. You can use these skills in whichever stance you are, whether it's in normal or normal stance or in puppet or showtime stance. Since these are skills, normal skills, meaning that they don't require MP, can be used them most of the time. You can use them basically every time, alright? The first skill I want to talk about is this one called Rose Vines. So this is a really important tool for Enchantress. So for starters, this is a full screen projectile. Full screen projectile, right? It's multi-hitting. Obviously, the further it goes, the less hits. Not the less hits, but it just continues until it reaches the corner. And even in the corner, just keep in mind that in the corner, it will be only one hit. Just to keep that in mind, don't expect the vine to hit multiple times if you're in the corner. So what are the uses of this? On top of saying that this is a full screen projectile, so obviously zoning, another thing that you can notice is that she crouches when doing this, meaning that you can low profile a lot of projectiles that are thrown at you. Alright? Another thing to keep in mind is that this is a very good tool even in block strings or just in combos, because this actually pushes the opponent a lot. This move has an amazing corner carry, and one very cool thing is that you can actually cancel into mats, which I will explain later in the video, and even continue the combo on hit, alright? That's a non-optimal thing that just came out of my mind, but that's a really cool thing. And even in block, you can use this to just pressure your opponent and push them. Right? It's an amazing tool regardless. You're gonna use this most of the time. Alright? Even in the corner as well, you can cancel and stuff. And just keep using them and just go crazy with this. This is a very versatile tool with Enchantress that I seriously recommend players to use it. One pretty cool thing about Vines is that it's a really cool neutral skip tool if you have conversion. So remember when I said that you cannot cancel into mat unless the Vine hits, and that happens with every other skill except for Firebomb. You cannot cancel into mat or anything else after Firebomb except with conversion, but that's what I want to get into. So if you have white health bar, you can always just do Vines and then conversion. Sorry, did it too soon. And then just keep neutral. Let's say that you're here, like full screen, just go this, and just skip neutral, and that's it. So if you have white health bar, if you have white damage, sorry, you can always use this to just skip neutral, and it can be a very beneficial tool for you. So let's say that you wanna pressure your opponent and you're in a block string and you wanna do vines and then cancel into mat or whatever. They can actually DP in that very small gap. They cannot really jump, I think, and they cannot really roll, at least for what I've tested. Maybe I'm wrong, someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but they can DP in that really small gap. But you see there? So what happened there is that I did the vine and she hit me just in the very small gap that there is during the vine. Obviously you can bait this, so let's say that you just cancel into mat and just bait the gap. I just bait the DP, sorry. I just failed the punish, but you can do stuff like this. And just punish them, but just keep that in mind, it's not a really gapless string. The second special that I want to talk about, or skill, is this, her Lantern Firebomb. That's the way the move is called, right? It's 6S, alright, and it's obviously used mostly as, not mostly, I will explain the other usage in a bit, but for starters, it's a zoning tool, alright? And it has very interesting properties. So for starters, this can be charged, and the longer you charge it, the more damage it will do, alright? And the second property that this move has is that you can do it in the air. It technically counts as two different moves according to the move list, but I just like to count them as two, as the same move with two different modes or properties, right? And the air one you can also charge, right? And during in the air, since he doesn't have any other air skills, you can press like 6S, back S, down S, up S, I don't remember the number, 8S, sorry, and you will always get it, alright? But one really, another cool property about the charging of the projectile is that, if you notice, if I hit my opponent with a non-charged projectile, or even a pre-charged projectile, they will launch a bit and then recover very quickly, right? But if I do the fully charged one, and this happens only with the fully charged one, not even if it is a bit slower, only with the fully charged one, they will get into a hard knockdown state, alright? And this can lead to possibilities like going for combos, for example. This can also mean that you can just lift another hard knockdown and then go for Oki with Destiny Pop-Up, which I will also talk later. A really good move, by the way. And another really good property, but with the air version, is that this one actually OTGs the opponent. So let's say that you're in a combo, right? It actually picks them off the ground so you can continue the combo. Another pretty cool thing to keep in mind. The next move I want to talk about is this move, which is 2S. It's called Mad It's Time to Dance, I believe, right? So this will be your main combo starter. If you're hitting them and you're in a block string, that will be your main combo starter. And the second property is that you can also, if you did the trials, which I recommend you don't do it if you want to learn Enchantress, or at least don't start doing them since the beginning or from the beginning, you can also catch them on the air and go for a combo. Sorry, I missed it there, but just know that you can do it, right? And yeah, go for Oki or whatever. One really cool property that I want to talk about is that, as you can see, Mad is also hitting alongside Enchantress. And this doesn't matter where Enchantress is. So, remember when I said that you have the only way to teleport Mad to where Enchantress is by just doing MS in the air, right? You don't have to do the carry cancel, but you just have to do MS in the air. But that's not really the point. The point I'm trying to make is that, let's say that you're hitting the opponent, or maybe they DP and they just push you away, with whatever move. What will happen is that you will go back, and as you can see, Mad will have to walk all the way where Enchantress is. He won't teleport. The only way you can teleport Mad is by doing MS in the air. But what this could also mean is that, let's say that you're pushed away, you can just hit them if Mad is close to them, right? Let's see if I can put him. Let's see if I can like move Mad here, and I'll go on summon. So when I switch back to normal stance, he will back towards me, and I can just do this. And Mad will hit them. So another pretty cool thing to keep in mind. This usually happens when, let's say that they DP and, yeah, as I said, push you away. Enchantress will go way back, but Mad will still have to walk all the way backward, and you have a little bit of time to just do this. Alright? Keep that in mind. So the last move I want to talk about is this one, which is called Destiny Puppet. I cannot put into words how good this move is. Alright, so this move, what would do is that Enchantress will put a duel. It will only walk forward. It will not track the opponent. It will not jump, walk backward. It will only walk forward, at least when it comes to his movement. Alright, once it hits the opponent, it will hit them once, then hit them again, launch them, and put them into a hard knockdown state. Alright, so you can choose to either keep the hard knockdown and then go for another one, or you can just go for a combo. They didn't hit that there. I believe you can like use a Firebomb to OTG. Yeah, you can use Firebomb and just continue a combo. But just know that that's a thing that it happens off with this. If the opponent blocks it, it will explode instantly, alright? But it gives you time to just continue your block string, your pressure, or whatever. So what is this move used for? This move is used most of the time as an Oki tool, alright? Every time you go for a hard knockdown, unless you can kill, please, this move doesn't cost any MP. Just use this. Just use this. There's no cooldown or whatever. Well, that you obviously can. I think, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do this indefinitely. I just found out about this, by the way. But most of the time, you wanna use them. As an Oki tool. Please go for this as your main Oki tool whenever you go for a hard knockdown. I will explain later in the video how to go for a hard knockdown in combos and stuff, but please do this afterwards. Your main goal with Enchantress, I remember, is not to deal like heavy amounts of damage, but just loop the opponent over and over and over until they'll die with mixes, with the Kara cancel and stuff. Go for hard knockdowns and go for this, alright? You can also use this as a zoning tool, and then let's say that they want to jump it, and then you go for an anti-air to expect the jump, and you can combo with this on full screen and use that's the harvest, which I'm gonna talk about later, but just use your zoning skills alongside this, and it combos beautifully with all your other projectiles, alright? But most of the time you wanna use this as an Oki tool. Another reason I say that you wanna use this most of the time as an Oki tool is because this little doll can be hit by other projectors, or I guess disjointed normals, right? And it just takes one hit and the doll disappears, no explosions, not anything. So it's better if you just use this as an Oki. Please use this as your main Oki tool. I cannot stress enough how good this tool is for Enchantress. So now let's talk about her magic skills, alright? So the first thing that I want to talk about is her two stances, alright? I want to go into detail into each stance, how you should manage each stance, which I think this is the most crucial part about understanding Enchantress. Yeah. So the first thing I want you to keep in mind is that, as I said before, she has two modes. She has her normal mode, where her magic moves are replaced by other ones. You have your harvest. I will go into each move, don't worry, but you have that, you have your command grab, you have your DP, and you have oh no, yeah, that's it, sorry. So basically, to switch between the two stances, you just press MS, alright? 5 MS, neutral MS, and in the air you can just press MS in whichever direction you prefer. So in the normal state, she doesn't lose MP like in Puppet stance or during Showtime. During Puppet stance, as you can see, her MP depletes very slowly, very gradually. Now it's depleting even more slowly because I'm in Awakening, as you can tell from the health bar. But yeah, to tell if you are in Puppet, in the Puppet or a normal stance, there's two ways to do it. At least in the Puppet manner. First, you can see this purple aura that Matt has. Second, you can see your MP bar that is now completely red. Alright. And another thing is that in this move, you will have to control Matt wherever he goes. So, well, if you press forward, obviously Matt will go forward. You place back, he will go back, right? He obviously cannot jump. You can still teleport him, as I said before many times in the video, but just know that in that stance you will have to control Matt, whereas in normal stand he will have to walk all the way where Enchantress is, as I previously said. One thing to keep in mind, even if you're hit, you will still be in during that stance, and you will continue to gradually lose MP. So if you're use this stance, if you're going for offense, it doesn't really make sense to be in Puppet stance and play defensively, or if you're doing pressure, because you will just lose MP. Your Awakening obviously depletes it way slower, but know that it doesn't. It's better to use this stance as an offense when you're in the offense, right? Another thing to keep in mind is that Awakening affects, as far as I know, it only affects the like when your MP is depleting gradually. All right, it doesn't affect the consumption, your MP consumption. This move is still 20 MP. This move is still 80 MP. It doesn't matter. This only affects the depletion when you're not doing anything with mana. All right. Those are two things to keep in mind. So now I will start going with the specials that Enchantress has in her normal mode. So, excuse me for a second, before I go into each individual move, in each stance, there's one thing, very important thing that I forgot. There's two things that I forgot to mention, alright? The thing that you're gonna see a lot is using the stance switch, which is called Showtime if you're in normal stance, and Scene when you're going from puppet stance to normal stance, alright? But let's call it, for the sake of the video, let's just call it Mad Cancel. You're gonna use this Mad Cancel a lot to cancel your animations from your other skills. So for example, you see Vine here, it has a lot of recovery, but it suddenly doesn't have that much of a recovery if you cancel. And see how quickly I can do Vine, then Mad Cancel, and then block. You see there very quickly. So this is very important to keep yourself safe, even B+, and most importantly, to combos after Mad is time to dance or 2S. Combos usually, almost every time, you're gonna see Mad canceling after a 2S. And even in combos like that, where you see me Mad canceling a lot, that's to teleport Mad, right? Mad cancel every time. So most of the time you wanna use Mad Cancel to make yourself be safe, use it for combos, and even B+ in a lot of situations, and just keep the pressure. This is very, very, very important to keep in mind when you're using Enchantress. One thing to remind yourself is that you cannot switch to Mad once you hit, alright? So don't do, for example, you're gonna hit the opponent and you're mashing the MS button and you wonder why it's not switching to Mad. That's probably because your skill hasn't hit yet, alright? Keep that in mind. What I like to do is to just mash the MS button and then just react when I'm Mad canceling or when Enchantress does the animation, and just continue my pressure or go for a block if I think that I'm unsafe, or continue the combo, alright? And the second thing that I forgot to mention is that I said before in many times in the video that to teleport Mad you have to press MS, alright? Don't worry, I will get to a point now. So the difference is that, interesting enough, if you are in the normal stance, obviously you can press MS, but if you press forward MS, see how now Mad teleports way forward. So let's test this. My bad. So let's do like a jump and then just use MS, use the Mad Cancel, right? See that Mad is now below Enchantress. But you can also do forward MS. See now that Mad is teleporting a little bit forward than where Enchantress is, when she lands, right? This is very important if you wanna put if you wanna put Mad like really close to the opponent and go for like really nasty like sandwich stuff like this. All right. Maybe it does. I think it doesn't work on other Enchantress, but this is really important to just put Mad really close to the opponent and just continue your pressure. All right, very vital, and especially for combos like this that require you to move Mad or teleport him a little bit forward. There we go. All right. So those are two things that you really need to keep in mind when using this stance cancel or Mad cancel, as I like to call it. So let's start with Enchantress normal stance. This move called Harvest. All right, this is 236 MS or 6 MS if you want to do just the single input. So this is a really good poking tool, or it can really work as a combo ender. My bad. Yeah, like that, or like a common ender, for two reasons. First, let's say that you don't really want to switch into mat stance and you really want to take your opponent's meter. That's the first property about this. It actually, as you can see, it took a lot of my opponent's meter. And mine just recovers. And now, as you can see, doing the simple input, it recovered very quickly. Very quickly, right? And I'm just leeching my opponent's MP. It goes full screen, it's multi-hitting, and just one thing to keep in mind, it recovers MP for each hit that it does. So for example, let's say that for some reason you only manage to hit them once, it will only leech their MP just for a bit, just for one hit. Alright, so just keep in mind this is your main poking tool if you want to absorb their MP, or as a combo ender if you really don't want to switch into mat. So now let's talk about 6 to 3 MS or DPMS or down MS, which is terrible, what's it called? Terrible roar. Yeah, terrible roar, sorry. So this will be your main DP, alright? It could also work as a really good anti-air. And what's really good about this is that first, keep in mind that this is the slowest one, so a lot of characters will have very easy time safe jumping on you when you're waking up, so don't abuse this too much, alright, on wake up. But one very cool thing, if you didn't notice, is that it actually drags the opponent towards me. This can be a very YOLO tool even in round start. If you think their opponent, if probably let's say, hey, previous round, my opponent just mash and just keeps winning round start. I know that he will just go for a button. You can just do this, alright? And it will push them very away. It costs a lot of MP, but you know, it's a tool that you have at your disposal. And of course, let's say that if they're jumping back, or maybe they're even backdashing, I've seen this stuff even catch people backdashing. Same with Matt, It's Time to Dance, or 2S, sorry. This is another move that Matt will only do by himself. So the same principle about, you know, Matt being close to the opponent works for him. And of course, Enchantress is just gonna jump it. She doesn't hit anything, but Matt will. The same thing you can do, let's say that they're doing a projector or whatever, or you can go for a kill with this, alright? Another thing, it can be, for very rare occasions, it can be used if you, let's say, you can't really optimize or hit with Harvest as a combo ender. You can also use this if you want to like deplete their white damage or white health bar. That's another use for this stuff, but it is mostly used as a DP or as an anti-air. So next I want to talk about her command grab, which is 214 MS or 4 MS or back MS, if you want to call it that. So this move is, in my opinion, one of the best moves in the game. Let me explain why. So this is a command grab, meaning that they cannot break out of the grab, but what's most important about this is that they turn into this doll that cannot block. You heard me right, they cannot block. The only thing they can do is walk, jump, or hit with A. That's the only thing they can do. And if you hit them with this in the corner, it can lead to pretty devastating stuff. That's really not optimal, by the way. That was like super suboptimal, but this can deal, like I've seen this thing like deal like 80% damage, right? You can deal more with that, but just so you know. So the most important thing about this move is that it's recommended that you do this in the corner. The reason being is that you won't get much of a reward in mid-screen. For starters, you're gonna push them really away, so they can kind of like walk backwards or jump, and you're not gonna capitalize on it. Plus, it costs a lot of MP. Plus, if you hit them, you can push them in the corner, which is a lot of a really good reward. But it's better if you save your MP to do this in the corner, right? Just like that, and look at the damage. So yeah, so remember, just focus on doing this in the corner, and please look for opportunities to set this up. How do you set this up? Well, I found a few ways to set it up. First, you can do an air normal into it. This can be both jumping A or jumping B. Another way is you can do it after a 2A or a 5A. Alright, this can be, but by the way, if they're guarding as well. Let me put the opponent on crouch or guard change. Yeah, guard change shuffle. My bad. Yeah, if they're guarding. There we go. Or 5A. And the most utterly disgusting way to set this up, I found, is with 2B. Now, with 2B, it actually pushes you away. But what I want you to do is do it after the first hit of 2B. My bad. There you go. So this is like a really disgusting mix-up that Enchantress has, because you can either just let it slide and just do the 2 hits, or go for the command grab that at the beginning I think that a lot of people will get caught by this at least once. There we go. It's just so good, and it's just, in my opinion, it's like a really disgusting setup. It's kind of like a tick throw if you think about it. So yeah, remember, use this in the corner, really important move, and be sure to tell whether you're in normal stance instead of a puppet stance, because if you're doing it in puppet stance, then you will get this. Alright? So, which is not that bad, like they will block and it will still be plus, but you want to use this when you're not, obviously, because this is only available when you're in normal stance. Now let's start talking about Enchantress Puppet Stance or Showtime, specifically this move 6-3 MS or DPMS, which is called Mad the Guard, alright? So in this move, as you can see, this is a move that puts the opponent in a hard knockdown state. Therefore, it is very recommended that you end your combos with this move. If you can, try to always end your combos with this move, unless you want to like preserve your MP or whatever, right? So another cool property about this thing is that Mad is actually involved. Oh, sorry if I didn't mention, but while in this stance, Mad can actually be hit by the opponent. In the other stance, as you can see, I'm hitting the other Enchantress and Mad is just not moving. Whereas the opponent can hit Mad and it will put him in kind of like this stagger state where he cannot do anything else, right? Now, what's more important about this move is that Mad is invincible while doing it. So let's say that you think that Mad is over here and they want to hit them or whatever, you can just use them and catch them off guard, right? Your combo should end with probably something like this, like in mid-screen. Sorry. Hey, hey, hey. There we go. And you go for Destiny Puppet like we talked about earlier to go for Oki. Try to always end with this if you can, alright? And obviously you can just choose to not do it if you want to preserve MP, and then switch back if you do the carry cancel, and just stop using your MP, because as we talked about earlier, you're gonna lose your MP while in this stance, whatever. The next move that I want to talk about is 236 MS or 6 MS, alright? Which is this one. So this one is a string that Mad does that it can be used as combos, but it's mostly used as a pressure tool in block strings and yeah, that kind of stuff. I recommend that you use this. It only costs 30 MP. It is really plus, and it works to like just continue your pressure, right? And just go for this stuff and whatever, right? But yeah, just know that these moves you were mostly you can use them in combos if you want, but you will mostly use them if you wanna like continue your pressure and whatever. So let's talk about the last move on Enchantress's kit, at least in her puppet stance, which is this one, Curse of the Terror, or 214 MS or back MS, all right? So this move, what it does is just it's just like a projectile that Matt does. It has a lot of deceivingly long range. Like, just look at this, it's multi-hitting, and it's the one that deals the most amount of damage out of everything that Enchantress can do, at least in her puppet stance, all right? This is mostly used as a combo extender if you're going to kill. If you're not going to kill, don't go for this move, especially because look at how much MP this look at how much MP this costs. That cost 80, I think 80 MP. If I'm not correct, if I'm saying that correctly, yeah, 80 MP. All right. So just keep that in mind. Don't use this in pressure. In pressure, remember, it's better to just use this. You can sometimes use this if, let's say that you're going for a jump in and Matt is behind you, and you can catch them off guard with that. But this is mostly going to be used in combos where you're sure you're gonna kill. There we go, alright? One final tip that I can give you when it comes to controlling Matt is that keep in mind that the only thing that Enchantress can do, independent from Matt, is just move him, alright? One thing that you can test this is by just you can do the challenges for Enchantress. They're fairly simple, and you can crouch and press diagonally in your path or circle or whatever to move Matt, alright? And control him, alright? But the most important thing to get kind of like the muscle memory when it comes to using Enchantress, this will not be something practical that you will do in matches all the time, but it's gonna be 5B into 2B and then moving Matt. This obviously has to be in puppet stance or Showtime. A, and just move Matt, alright? Doesn't matter if you press 6B, 4B, 5B, as you can see in the display, you will always get the same thing, same as this. Doesn't matter if you're pressing down B in whichever direction, you will always get the same thing. That will give you kind of like a shortcut, or just a way of telling you that, hey, you can just do stuff like this and move Matt freely. So what I want you to do is just do activate puppet stance or Showtime, go 5B, 2B, and move Matt while you're doing it. It could be a forward or backwards, alright? Then you can start getting creative and do stuff like this, and just keep freestyling, alright? That's a lot of what Enchantress can do. She can freestyle a lot on the opponent, especially on pressure. But if you wanna get the hang of their combos and learn how to control mass, just learn how to do this. 5B to B and set yourself a goal. Let's say I wanna activate puppet stance or Showtime, and then 5B to B, go backwards and do it 5 times repeatedly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the other way around, but meaning forward now. 1, 2, and you can still go, alright? So I really recommend that if you're a beginner player, just do this to get kind of like the muscle memory of how to control Matt while you're in that stance. So now that we're approaching the end of the video, I wanna talk about what your goal should be. So round starts and you don't know what to do and whatever, like, calm down. There's a lot of things that you can do. So first thing that we know, first, you're not gonna, as I said previously, you're not gonna win a lot of your rounds, sir. So just back a bit, you walk back a bit, just block, jump back or whatever. You can take a risk if you want with 5B, if you can. But just know that at round start, you don't gonna win a lot. That's something that I previously talked about. But most importantly, the first goal that you wanna have is to push them in the corner using vines. All right, that's the first thing that you can do. Very important. Use vines, and then just go for a mix, all right, or go for a setup. All right. If you think that they're too far or whatever, think that they're like really don't know how to approach you, you can always use your zoning tools. Especially after round start, since you're like too far from the opponent, there's not really need to just rush down to the opponent and whatever and just keep neutral. Just like go this, zone them, not with that, sorry, but like with this, with Vine, and with Destiny Puppet, alright? And if you think you can get a hit, you can always use Harvest, especially if you want to take down their white health bar or their MP, alright? Well, now let's say that you get a hit, you finally get a hit, or you're like in this range, or maybe the opponent is gone for like a pressure tool, and you think you can finally press. What I recommend is that you always start with this one, alright? 2A since it's the fastest, and if you think that you can get in, use 5B, alright? But your main goal should always be to push them to the corner. Alright, once you push them to the corner, go crazy, mix them up, and obviously be careful with the DPs and stuff. But remember that you're not going to deal the most amount of damage, and she's a very meter heavy character. So your goal should be to get the hit and then just go for a setup. Get the hit, go for a combo, hard knockdown with Mat the Guard, and go for a setup, alright? And if you don't want to use Mat the Guard, let's say that you don't have MP or you want to recover, you can just go for 2B. Sorry, the 2 hits of 2B. And then go for a setup as a combo ender, alright? Quick tip, when you're using Destiny Puppet as an OK2, try to guard a bit. To bait, to see if they like to DP a lot, and if they DP, you're gonna get handsomely rewarded. All right. Also, if you're in this stance, try to look for things like the command grab, and once you get the hang of it, go for the carry cancels. Like let's say that I don't know, you hit them once with a combo, okay? Whatever. Let's say that hit, and you push them in the corner, and now you're like in this range. You run up, carry cancel, and mix. Remember, you don't have to go for like you don't have to go for like very high execution stuff or get the hang of all of the carry cancels and or whatever. Just practice by doing that. My recommendation is get the hang of her. Do like a couple BNBs that I'm gonna leave down in the description below, as this is not much of like a combo guide, more of like a tutorial or like a fundamentals guide about Enchantress. And get the hang of it, and then you can do the trials, and once you think that you're ready and stuff, play some matches. Don't lap too much, because they can get really excessive and you're gonna forget a lot. Get the hang of the game, learn the matchup with Enchantress, and once you get the hang of it, you can practice the carry cancels, alright? The double overhead that even I whiff, and I've seen a lot of people whiff or fail a lot of the time, but don't get discouraged by it. So in short, at ground start, you're probably gonna play defensive, something a bit. Once you think you can get in, go for a corner and push them to the corner, even if they're blocking. And once they're in the corner, go for really ground pressure, get the hit, and try to loop them. Don't go for damage unless you can kill. Right? That's what I would say that your overall goal should be. Thank you so much for watching my guide, guys. If you can, please like and subscribe in my channel. I know that I'm a small content creator, but I promise I want to keep creating content about this game that I love so much, and other FGC related stuff. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can always ask them in the comments, or ask me in my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/LuigiFGC. See ya!